In the world of film and television, sound effects are often performed by a Foley artist. What is a Foley artist? Let's find out. If we're going to talk about the art of performing Foley, we'll need a Foley artist. Susan Fitzsimon, Foley artist. How are you, Susan?
Great, Buzz. How are you?
I'm doing well, but I don't know what Foley art is.
Foley art is performing live sounds. You either replace the sounds that are in a film or you enhance them. You get a film, you look at what the props are, and you use them to perform it live. So you're watching a big screen and you're in sync with the person. Money, for instance, someone's counting money. You don't hear that, it doesn't make sound, so we have to add that in. The boom mic is so far up and the lav mic, you'll never hear the footsteps, so we'll watch the person, the actor, will find out what kind of shoes they're wearing, what surface they're on, and then we'll grab different shoes. The art is really in the footsteps because you really have to learn to walk on a 4x4 square. You know, the mic is pointing at your feet. You can't move, so you have to like adjust your feet from the normal way of walking.
If a film had a dog that was wearing shoes, would you do that in 2 passes or would you put shoes on your hands?
I would put shoes on my hands and I would do it in 1 pass.
Tips from the pros. Susan, I see that you've brought some Foley props here with you, and this is part of the kit that you take with you wherever you're performing. Could you demonstrate some of these sounds for us? Tell us a little about them.
So, I mean, these are just basic things. I like to carry some things with me all the time. If you wanted to do, like, say, a police officer's belt, you know, their belts squeak, you know, they have handcuffs, they always have keys on there, and, you know, they're going to have a gun. Good old can openers can use as a gun if you don't have a gun handy. I can't travel with this bag, obviously. They won't let me in the airports. Yeah, empty that out. See? And that could be, right there, that could be a great sound effect. So I collect anything and everything that makes a sound.
Me too. Is there one secret that you can share with us to help us with our own Foley sound effects?
In footsteps, you don't want to watch the feet, watch the shoulders, because that is going to be, like, to me, like the ebb and flow of the person's cadence. If they might have a limp, if you're watching the shoulders, you're going to go with that movement of watching that person walk. And to me, that's the best way to really grab sync on a character.
Well, Susan Fitzsimon, obviously it's time for us to go. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing some tips and information on Foley art.
Thank you, Buzz, for having me.
We'll see you all soon.
Introducing Jack Foley.
So yeah, in order to talk about Foley, we gotta talk about Foley. The guy, not the sound design technique. Before he ever got into film, Jack Foley lived in Bishop, California with his family during the 1910s. You see, Jack was a man who was very involved in his community. He worked at the local hardware store, created drawings for the Bishop newspaper, and helped the community theater by making plays for them. This care would soon save the town, as once people began leaving Bishop for the new, cool, and hip Los Angeles, Bishop began to lose money. Jack attacked Foley, swooped in, and called up some buddies who worked in the film industry to convince them to shoot some westerns in Bishop. They agreed to the offer, the town got some money, and Jack Foley got into the film industry as a location scout. Jackie Boy gets the job as a sound designer on this silent film. Yes, I realize the irony of what I just said. Let me explain though. Universal was working on a film called Showboat. You see, Showboat was coming out when movies with sound, talkies, were becoming the norm. This prompted Universal to change the film from a silent film to a talkie. They needed someone to do sound effects for the film, but no one took the offer, and with Mr. Foley always willing to take up a challenge, stood up to the plate. And he hit a home run! The studio loved Foley's work ethic and sound design, and he became a favorite among Universal employees. After Showboat, he worked on multiple other movies where his signature style of sound effect design was created. How it worked back then was, Jack Foley and others would record sound effects in a room during the entire length of the movie, watching and making sound effects while the film goes on. This audio was then recorded onto magnetic tape, tampered and edited with multiple different techniques, and aligned with the movie as it played in theaters. Here's an example of such a thing not working correctly. Not as funny, right? Jack Foley would then teach his techniques to his followers who would go off and use these newfound talents at different movie studios. This spread the concept of Foley across the film industry, and many studios started using Jack's special way of doing it. Uh-oh, it's fun fact o'clock. What's the fun fact of the day? Around this time, the name Foley, for being used to make sound effects, started to spring up. It got this name obviously because of Jack Foley, but also because on sets, Jack Foley's students would tell one another to Foley certain things in reference to their sensei. This got spread around to the point where studios started using it as an official name for sound effect creation.
Does this sound familiar to you? That's Mr. Krabs walking in SpongeBob.
Can't you just pretend to listen for once in your life?
And notice how quickly he's moving?
It's almost like a dance, you know?
That's typical of cartoon characters, whose exaggerated movements and behavior call for equally exaggerated sound. For Foley artists like Monique or Sana, this is one of the fun challenges of creating sound for animation. And unlike live-action movies, it starts with nothing.
For live action, you have production sound, like what they recorded. So you could kind of like be like, oh, this is what it sounds like. But in animation, it's all up to you. It's like your world to create whatever you want.
Take Gur in Invader Zim, a little robot who's shaped like this.
He looks hollow. So for his body, I used this. And then for his legs, they looked like little cable legs. And these were his little feet. And I always had the kettle next to it, so the metal would kind of resonate and you could kind of hear his body.
Appa, the giant mythical beast in Avatar: The Last Airbender, needed a bigger, rounder sound.
Because he's so big, I had to try different things for him. First, I tried like a couple cushions to do like massive. We tried like big like tree trunks and hit them. We couldn't really get how big and fluffy he is as well. What I did, I got a plunger, I got some paper napkins, filled it up. So you kind of like took the hollowness out of it and got a multiple pieces of duct tape. When I played it, it sounded good. And I tried one that was empty. You could hear the difference.
The duct tape muted the sound, taking away any harshness. So Appa sounds not only big, but also fluffy and round, like the cuddly creature he appears as on screen.
Seem to know everything.
Haha, very funny.
Even if the characters are based on actual real-life animals, the sounds still get wackier in animation, like the sea creatures of SpongeBob.
Krabs has a couple things happening. Think about the crab as a shell. So steps, like the sound of the crab movement.
Doesn't exactly sound like a real crab, does it? That's because real crabs don't move like this. This mile-a-minute pace isn't unique to SpongeBob. Characters in animation generally move faster and more percussively than they do in live action. Keeping up for Foley artists can get exhausting.
That was good.
To emphasize the force behind all these swift, jerky movements, accent sounds take on special importance, especially for fight scenes, like the fast punches Monique did for this scene from the Kung Fu Panda TV show.
Heavenly plum blossom!
Or this popping sound.
Anytime we have a chance to add sound to a scene, we do. Like when they're fighting, anytime when you see those little white lines that go like that, I'll add a whoosh to it. I like using bamboo sticks. You could use antennas or anything that does this kind of sound.
Sana would also accent the character's fight moves with what's called a shing.
I use like a shovel, so that's like a deeper kind of shing. Also, you gotta be careful how to hold the shovel. Like you can mute it, you could make it more ringy. I've used a machete and a shovel. And then I've used this thing. It's not sharp at all with this. Ooh la la, that was beautiful.
These, as with most Foley sounds, are often combined with sound effects added digitally by sound designers.
So they could get mine manipulated or have theirs, Foley and effects together, just really fill it up and make it sound great.
This combination of Foley and digital effects is key, especially because there isn't any production sound to begin with. It's up to the Foley artist to fill this empty playground with sounds, each created individually and often layered together. On SpongeBob, for example, the Foley artists would do something called a water pass.
We would take a big Tupperware tub and fill it up until it was about this much from the top. And we would do a movement. Instead of cloth, we would move water.
Foley artists aren't afraid to get wet or go over the top, especially when creating sounds for slapstick humor in animated comedy. Zana used an extra wet chamois to amplify the mud splats in Rugrats and capture the spirit of the messy babies. Though the mouth sounds get wetter, the movements get faster, and even something as mundane as footsteps gets played up for dramatic effect. Nearly every sound gets heightened in animation, which means the creative possibilities for Foley artists are pretty much endless.
That's nice. Yeah, no, that sounds, that's right. I think the funniest part of my job is to really come up with the ideas to make the sounds, whether it's a natural thing or a totally unexpected thing. When you come up with that idea that just works, that's sort of the most fun part of the job. Here we have a very nice little thing. It's a brush. It's used for when you put an item into an item frame and when you then rotate. So this is when you put the item on the item frame, and when you rotate, yeah, small silly thing.
One of the most challenging things to do when sound designing for Minecraft is mob sounds. Because there's, you have to establish a character and the mob is going to have like a variety of different behavior that is always a bit different from other mobs.
If it's not an animal, if it's a mob that doesn't exist in the real world, then you have all the opportunities to do stuff with this. There are no rules, you have to decide how it should sound.
Challenging things about creating mob sounds is to find the right character of the sound. And sometimes it's just me standing in front of a microphone trying to find the mob. When it's fleeing, it's like sorry, that kind of thing. That kind of thing, it's scared. But then it becomes very angry, then it's like and then it flees again. They're very primitive, as you can hear. I think the voice is a powerful tool because you have the power to do emotive outputs on command. I can sound happy. I can sound sad. I can sound angry. You know, all those things you can control with your voice, which makes it a powerful tool, especially if you apply effects to it. Well, the cat sounds in Minecraft are just basic recordings of my funny cat called Udi. Main reasons to record real animals for me has been that sort of just by, like the goats I met. They have their own unique voices, which means we now have unique goat sounds in Minecraft. You can't hear these goats in any other game. Well, one of the most advanced mob recordings I've ever done is when I went to Kolmården Wildlife Park to record the dolphins. It was a pretty big setup with a bunch of hydrophones, which are, you know, underwater microphones, and we recorded lots of both underwater sounds and overwater sounds for the dolphins, so that was super big.
I think Samuel used his child for the phantom sounds.
Well, the phantom is an interesting mob because it appears when you haven't slept enough. And that's basically what happens when you have a baby in real life. So I thought I'd just record my little kid crying and then I put some filters on it. And if you listen closely, you can actually hear that it's a cry.
All right, I have a challenge for you. We have pre-recorded a sequence from the game but removed all the sounds, and you have 20 minutes to recreate them.
All right, challenge accepted. So we need a wooden door, we need a toilet roll, we need some kind of bell. Oh. This is also part of the job.
The working process that we have at Mojang is quite unique, I think, because we in the sound department gets to be involved from the very beginning, from the brainstorming part, together with designers and artists and developers. So we have a huge impact on the feature from the very beginning, and that's really fun.
Och kanske fejda ut den här bara. Nej, det är kul kanske. Oh, det är kul. Ja, det är jättefint. Det blir jättebra. I think the silent aspect of Minecraft is one of its most beautiful things. The sound engine we use is very bare bone. It's only available to control things like pitch and volume. So every sound really counts, and it's still a very comforting soundscape, I would say. I think that is definitely something we want to keep in the game.
Okay, here we go. Action.
I think also a lot of Minecraft sounds that already exist, that Samuel has created, that has been here for all these years, have like a homemade feeling to it. In a way, it sounds like it's recorded and not it doesn't sound like a library sound. So when we create the new sounds, we need to follow in those footsteps and create sounds that will fit into the already existing Minecraft world. So that means we need to continue to do it in the same feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, that's it then.
Yeah, as we say, we can live with this, I think.
Yeah.
Tittar vi då. Nice. Thank you. A good example of the community being really interested in what we do is when I made the Cave Sound 14, I inserted a picture of a creeper in it. You have to use a program like a spectrogram to see this. I mean, you can hear that it sounds a bit funky, but I thought when we released it in Snapshot it would take like a couple of months until someone found it, but it just took a few minutes and then people immediately got that it was a creeper inside the sound. I think that's pretty amazing.
You think they're so cute? Oh yeah, but they're non-stop noise.
If I was doing a single bird and it was flying, I'd be like, There's a lot more to a movie's audio than lines of dialogue in a musical score. There's also the sound that everyday objects make. Footsteps in the sand, say, or a spoon clinking against a coffee mug. That's the province of Foley artists who create those sounds, which are then added to a film or TV show's audio track.
So we are here at the Archive Foley stage at Skywalker Sound. It was built from the ground up, and it's only been in operation for just about 6 months. And I'm here with Shelley Roden and John Resch, two of the masterminds who run the sound gig here and have worked on all manner of movies and other things. And we're going to have a little fun today, yeah?
You're actually going to get your Foley training license today, signed by both Shelley and myself.
You're going to become a female rabbit today.
My dream finally realized. Let's get into it.
The mission was to do Foley for a scene from the Disney animation movie Zootopia. But while that might sound simple, there was nothing simple about making those sounds. My first mission on the road to being a Foley master was making rabbit footsteps using rubber-coated gardening gloves. Chalk it up to beginner's luck, but the first go wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
First off, I believed what you were doing. That, in other words, I was watching the screen like you were, I was hearing it, and I believed what I was hearing. And that's really the key to Foley.
Next up, I had to replicate the sound of an animated suitcase. Foley may look weird, but it's all about giving a scene satisfying sonic texture.
That was pretty darn good,
Cool.
I have to say. Yeah, I like the character of what you were doing.
Yep.
Well, I gave it some
feel that?
backstory. This picture's been through a lot.
And then the grand finale, the sound of an animated bunny flopping onto an animated bed. I had to get suggestions from the pros for this one.
Like, hold these in the air.
Oh my God,
Like
the advanced techniques are blowing my mind. All right.
That was perfect.
It was
So,
really good.
so you've done it. So, Scott, could you play the scene back, please? Ladies and gentlemen, Peter.
Greasy walls, rickety bed, crazy neighbors.
I love it!
I have to say, with the star cameo turn by you with that second picture frame, it was a thing of beauty.
Oh,
Thank you
don't
so
be
much.
humble. You did great.